Hello everyone. Alright, for this video, I would like to make a response to my question of the week video I made last week. Now originally I planned to make this video at the beginning of the week, but I didn't get a chance to make it. So here we are. Now I just finished watching the two responses made by Schwartzman and the Japanese hacker. I believe that's his name, his YouTube name. I have to say they were very, very good responses. I really do appreciate it. As usual, a lot of the things they brought up, their thoughts, I totally agree with the methods, what people need to do to improve vocabulary. Very, 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 very good videos. So if you guys haven't seen those videos, you will see them after you watch this video, because I'm going to post this as a response to my original video. And then once you watch that video or, this one, you should see the other responses. So they're very good. So yeah, today in this video, I would like to touch on 4 points. 4 points, okay? The first one, I want to talk about reading. Second, listening. Third, exposure. And fourth, the willingness. Perhaps listening and reading go hand in hand, so I might be able to connect those, okay? So yeah, for reading, I think that's probably the most important factor when it comes to learning vocabulary. And I mean, it's quite obvious because you're learning new words that you probably wouldn't use on a normal basis. Okay. So, I would like to use myself for example. Like, I wasn't really much of a reader. I didn't read that much in English, let alone a foreign language. I just didn't really read. I never was big into it. Even when I was in school, I hated reading. I only did it because I had to. Even in certain things that I like doing, like video games, like certain magazines, I wouldn't even sit down and take my time to read them and say, okay, I'm really, really trying to read this to acquire the words. I just kind of skimmed through it, get to the point to what I needed to know, and that was it. I never really took it to heart. And this can perhaps go into the willingness, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. So just recently, well, not just recently, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I actually tried to make an effort of reading more to improve vocabulary. So I went out and got this book, or I ordered it online, Tragedy and Hope. Now, it's not related to language. It's something else. It's more politics. But at the time, I was doing certain research. I had this interest in this certain topic. And I joined a forum where many people had this similar interest, and they were talking a lot and they were recommending books. So I had got this book and I started reading it. And I read a whole lot. And then I would go back to the forum. I was going there like every day and just interacting with them. And certain vocabulary words that I saw in this book would come up in the forum. And they helped me retain them because of the exposure and the a lot of reading. And that's the exposure. That can go into the exposure point. Surrounding yourself, interacting with other people who have a similar interest. Okay, very, very important. So that was my first attempt, like, to really getting into reading. Now, language learning, I started doing that beforehand, but that's different. I'm talking about reading, like really, really reading something. Like, not a language book, explanation. I'm talking about something like that's really, really hardcore, like this Tragedy and Hope book. So that's why I started doing that. But like I said, that was many years ago. I'm not really into it now, so I'm not doing that much reading for that. Now, as far as listening, I think the listening is important as well, especially when it comes to comprehending something. When you listen to a radio station or watching a television or movie, or when you're interacting with a native, when you hear something, when you hear something right away, you should be able to understand it as long as you did the listening. Okay, the listening is vital. And again, this was something else that I wasn't really into doing when I first started learning languages. I didn't really do that much listening for, let's say, Chinese. Okay, I didn't do much listening for that. Hence, having a weird accent and pronunciation at certain times. The listening is vital. And by me joining this community, watching certain videos have helped me. Steve Kaufman's videos helped me to realize that listening is very important. So listening a whole lot would really, really help your comprehension. That's the only way it can help, just by listening a lot. So you guys have probably noticed that lately I make a lot of listening, or not listening, or reading practice videos. I do that for pronunciation practice and let's say pronunciation, accent, and just repetition for reading the text. So I do that a lot. I have a lot of those for Czech, and those of you who speak Czech probably noticed that for my daily reading practice videos, I tend to go over the same reading. I do that intentionally because I like to revisit vocabulary and listen to them over and over and over again. Whenever I listen to a radio station or a certain video where Czech is spoken, right away, if I've heard that vocabulary many times, it's going to be crystal clear to me. Crystal clear, because of all that reading, all the listening I've been doing. So that is very, very important as well. What's the next point? Exposure. Yeah, exposure. As I mentioned before, exposure. When I started getting to this tragedy and hope, reading this, I was on forums. I didn't get this book. I didn't even know about this book, like, until I joined a forum and was watching certain videos, Alex Jones or other type of videos. This book came up, and I was, of course, interested because I was interested in that topic at the time. So I got it and I started reading it. But I had to find other. I had to find other people who were interested in the same topic. Hence, joining the forum. A lot of vocabulary came up there, and that helped me acquire the vocabulary. So when it comes to reading, when you read something, like, because I know even in English, like, I'll read certain things, I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I've never seen that word before. But if it's a topic on a certain topic that you really, really enjoy and you read a lot and you've interacted with other people, it doesn't matter where you see it. It may come up randomly somewhere. You will automatically know what it is just because of all the exposure and all the reading you've been doing. So exposure is very, very important. Same with the language thing. Not only do you want to listen to the audio and all that, you want to do a lot of reading. You want to find native speakers, go to forums, all this stuff. Novels, just a lot of things in that language. The exposure is very, very, very important. So you may not, when you read something, you may not retain it right away, but if you keep doing it, you will retain it eventually. And this is something else that I get on YouTube, people asking me, well, when it comes to the vocabulary, like, when you read something, did you have a problem retaining it the first time? Of course, this is natural. This happens to a lot of people. You're not going to retain it 100%, but when you go on, you read continuously, then you will retain those vocabulary, but you have to keep doing it. It's very important. So, yep. So that's the exposure, the reading, the listening, and the last point will be the willingness. Willingness is, man, it's so important. And this, I guess I should say, this go hand in hand with the motivation. If you don't have the willingness, you don't have the motivation, you just simply won't do it. And for me, like I said, I wasn't really much into reading. Being in high school, I didn't really care about that stuff. I wanted to graduate from high school and just get it over with. I didn't even care. And it's quite interesting because there are people, like, I have a friend, he told me that he was over one of his cousin's house, and he's into reading a lot. And he was just sitting there reading something, and his cousin was surprised that he had a book and was reading it. And he asked him, what are you doing reading? You've already graduated from high school. And this is sad because there are actually people out there who think like that. They feel that just because you graduated, you got your high school diploma, or even you graduate from college, the learning process is over. Just stop it. Don't even learn anymore. You're done. And this is really dangerous. And this actually goes back to exposure too. Being around certain people who aren't motivated, who don't have the willingness to take that extra step, it can have an effect on you. So that's why you have to find people who are on your level, that have the similar interests as you. Okay. So yeah, effort, the willingness definitely is a major, plays a role into this whole thing as well. But reading, I think first you got to be you got to be willing to do this, but then reading is going to really get your vocabulary going. A lot of reading, and I'm trying to do this myself. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If, like I said, if you haven't seen the other responses to my question of the week video, you will see it once you watch this video. There should be 2 responses. So thanks for viewing, and talk to you guys here shortly.